WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
When I look at the stars, when I look at the stars,
wake up! What up, everybody? Welcome to the program. If you're listening to this and this is all you're going to hear, then you see only maybe like 10, 15 minutes for the timestamp. It's because Florida State hasn't announced an offensive coordinator, so we're just going to keep it nice and simple. But it's also a super important weekend coming up, so we're going to give you something to listen to, and I'm going to do not a lot of talking. We're going to let Michael Langston break it down for us, the WarChant.com recruiting analyst joining us here on Wake Up WarChant. Michael, how big of a weekend is this recruiting weekend for Florida State?
Oh, it's huge. I can't remember the last time I've seen this many official visitors come in, but it's going to be a huge weekend because obviously you still have this lingering stuff with the OC, and we're still waiting to get official word on that. But just the guys you have coming in that are their commitments in this class, and then some guys are targets that they have a really good chance to pull, and they're just and they're guys at a position that he's like offensive line and linebacker. So it's a big weekend for them. It's an important job for them to get the momentum going, get this thing ignited a little bit. Obviously, if they do get an offense coordinator, that'll ignite things a lot with the excitement level. But it's important for them to really nail down this weekend hard because early signing day is next week on December 19th, starting December 19th. So they'll have the last chance to really impress these kids, and it's just a really huge weekend for this staff.
What's the latest? I mean, I hate to keep asking about this, but I think this is one of the first questions most people have. I guess just the recruitment of Sam Howell. Is that just once the OC falls into place, then we'll get a better idea of what his future is?
I think it's just it's just a lot of confusion, I would say. I mean, there's obviously we know that North Carolina got their offense coordinator long ago. He's a guy that has a little bit of relationship with the Howell family. Not really close, not even in the same ballpark as what he had with Fedora's staff, but still they know about him. They've had some relationship with him. With if it is Kendall Briles, I've heard that they don't have a relationship with him. They haven't talked to him before, but at the same time, Sam, I've heard, is very excited about if it was Briles. He knows about his offense is really good. So I think a lot of this depends on when they talk to, both coaches talk to the Howell family and just his comfort level with that. I think it's very shaky right now. It's not just like, oh, you get a good offense coordinator, FSU is going to keep him. I just don't know. We're going to find out how much, because Sam Howell says he loves FSU, and it was more than just Walt Bell. Well, we're going to find out how much. Because if he loves them that much, you would think a hire like, if it is Briles, that will be enough to push him over the top. If that doesn't, then that kind of tells you, maybe he wasn't being totally honest about that, and maybe North Carolina's a more comfortable situation, and he kind of likes that situation better. So right now it's just pretty shaky, and it's just a shaky situation. That's really all I can say.
Coaching carousel landed in Maryland with Mike Loxley being the head football coach of the Terps. Nick Cross, obviously a really big defensive back, just in terms of his importance for this recruiting class, long committed to Florida State. How much of Loxley being in Maryland is it now a concern for Florida State in terms of his commitment level?
I think it's more concern because his parents like the Loxley family. And I think Nick really likes him, and he's happy for Mike. I think if the decision comes down to Nick, I think he'll be at Florida State. I think he'll sign with Florida State. I think that's where he'll end up. Now, if it comes to the fact that the family takes over the recruitment and says, hey, you're going here, then it's probably not going to be Florida State. It doesn't look good. But I think that's really the telling thing is. And then so far I've heard the decision is going to be Nick's, but we know how that thing can change when families get together and they talk together, and it's like, and then they all discuss, well, we'd feel more comfortable here. And it just depends on how adamant Nick is to go play for his childhood favorite, and that's FSU. So I think as long as it's Nick's decision, I think it'll be FSU. But if we start getting, vibes that it's going to be the family decision, then, that's when that will be a big concern.
Michael Langston, warchant.com and rivals.com recruiting analyst, joining us here on an abbreviated version of Wake Up War Chant. And when I say there's not a lot to talk about, folks, I know there is a lot to talk about, but if offensive coordinator hasn't been named, which at this point of us recording this hasn't been, we don't just want to regurgitate the same take, so we'll let Michael take over. All right, Michael, moving over to offensive line, that's obviously a huge part of the puzzle that needs to be fixed to get this thing back and rolling. Junior college guys, where does Florida State stand with some of those guys? And also Darnell Wright is a name that's kind of come out of nowhere, or at least to a guy like me who doesn't follow this 24 hours a day, but a 5-star offensive lineman's in the mix too. How likely is that guy, Darnell Wright, and then the JUCO market, what's that looking like for Florida State right now?
Well, you have a big weekend. I've counted it up. There's going to be 15 official visitors. So it's going to be a massive weekend. I think there's going to be 4 official visitors for offensive line. You mentioned JUCO. I will tell you about one guy. His name is Jay Williams out there in California. He's the guy that FSU offered officially last week. I feel pretty good that they're going to pull him. I feel there's a really good chance that he could jump on board this weekend after the visit. So he's a guy to really keep your eye on. I think they have a chance to certainly pull him. We've mentioned other guys like Desmond Bland. Those guys he's going to visit in January. Telefort, we've talked about him, Kadeem Telefort. He's another one I feel they are likely to pull. He will visit also in January. And then you mentioned Darnell Wright. He's a guy I think is very intrigued by the fact that he knows he could play early at FSU, but also he seems to like Taggart's vision of what he wants to do and how he wants to change the program. And I think he's a guy to keep an eye on because of that. I think it's likely they could possibly get a visit. There's nothing set up yet. If he visits, it'll probably be in January. But I think there's work to do, even if you do get a visit. I think Tennessee and Alabama are the teams I hear the most with him. And then, so I think this weekend, though, the main focus is on those 4. You have the 4 official visitors, which is Dante Lucas. We mentioned Jay Williams. He's another one. And then the one surprise to me was Keandre Jones. I just learned he's an Auburn commit. He's a 4-star. He's actually coming over. He's actually really good friends with Curtis Fan and Kalen DeLoach, who are both FSU commits. So that one's interesting. I think FSU's been trying to work on that to get him in town. So it will be interesting to see how much of an impact that will make. He's an interior guy, a guard. So I think you got those guys coming in. I think they're really locked in to try to lock these guys down. And then probably the most important guy is the center prospect, Maurice Smith. He's committed to Boston College. Really liked FSU growing up. He's camped at FSU twice. And he's like I said, committed to Boston College, but he's really close with Telly Lockett because he played at Miami Central. So I think there's a real chance to pull him, but they're going to have to do the work. They're going to have a strong visit. But I think if they sell him on the priority he is, I think there's a good chance they could possibly pull that off. But not ready to put him on commit watch like I would Jay Williams. But I think he's the guy to certainly watch this weekend too.
And again, folks, Jay Williams, JUCO product out of El Cajon, California right now, a 6'6", 290-pound offensive tackle. So that sort of fits the bill, obviously, for at least at the very least the bodies that Florida State needs at offensive line. How about linebacker? That's another position, obviously, a lot of fans are concerned about. What are things looking like at that level?
Yeah, you have a big one coming in this weekend with linebacker Kalen DeLoach. They're in a heavy battle to hold on to him against Michigan. Auburn's also in the mix, but I think it's more Michigan. The 2 parents seem to really like Michigan. They talk about Michigan a lot. They've talked about how they would sign off if you wanted to go there. I think Kalen actually, though, there's a different kind of comfort level when he's at FSU compared to any other place. So I think this visit is really about the parents, and FSU needs to sell stuff of how they take care of their players on and off the field, what they do for them after graduation and before graduation, what did they get out of their degree, what kind of things he does outside of football. And talking about him is Willie Taggart, and just the connection and stuff with that. And I think if they accomplish all that, and they make it where the family is comfortable. I can be comfortable sending my kid here. I think they will hold on to him. So those are the two of the main ones I think coming in, this weekend that they're going to really hammer down and focus on as far as the visits. I think of Lakia Henry. He's a JUCO linebacker. He is likely, from what I hear, expected to come in for the unofficial visit, I think, on Friday. I don't know how long he's staying, but he's another one he's committed to Tennessee, but I think that's a soft commitment. I actually hear it's probably going to come down to FSU and Arkansas. I think he's visited Arkansas before. He is a big-time prospect that would be huge for FSU if they could pull it off because they need immediate help at linebacker. So I think those are some of the main guys that would come in as far as visit this weekend.
Those are my favorite, Michael. When the kid's committed somewhere, but then it's like, but it's going to come down to school C and D.
Yeah.
He's committed to school A, but it's school B and C that he'll probably commit to. I don't know if you can maybe give us some insight into this at all, or just, maybe your theory. But there's a couple guys on the board, whether it be a young man like Kevon, was it Kevon Glenn? Or is it Kevin Glenn or Kevon? He's got the O in there. It throws me off.
Kevon.
You got a guy like him, and also a potential flip maybe from USF, Malcolm Ray. These kids might not have the sort of stars or the measurables that everybody drools over. Is this kind of maybe showing a little glimpse of Willie going after kids that just have desire or hardworking, the sort of the culture change he wants to get going?
I think it's the kids that he feels fits his program, not so much. I could argue those like guys like Malcolm Ray. I could argue he should be higher ranked. I mean, I talked to Larry Bluestein, who's a guru when it comes to South Florida, and he called this kid the best defensive player in South Florida. He's the best defensive player, and you're talking about a King Dent. All these guys are in South Florida, and he's saying this guy is the best. So I think the main thing is he's getting kids that fit regardless of what star rankings or what their rankings are. He's seeing guys that have kind of what you said, the character, have that dog in them. He wants guys that have that dog in them that you don't have to – you just go out and have to coach them. You don't have to worry about desire, or you don't have to worry about effort. These guys are going to bring it every single night, and I think that's the kind of guys he's looking to bring in. Certainly he wants talent that fits what their scheme is doing. But I think the main thing is they want guys that fit their system, but also fit their mentality, which is we want guys that are gonna lay it out there and just play like dogs all the time. And I think that's what they're kind of looking for. And obviously big time talent, but those are kind of, I think, players they want to turn this program into.
Malcolm Ray's a 6'2", 230-pound defensive end out of Carroll City, and Kevon Glenn is a 6'1", 222-pound linebacker out of Hampton, Georgia. So, again, maybe not the numbers that people are used to seeing at those positions, but, again, maybe reflecting something better than numbers in terms of desire and want to. Last thing for me, Michael, the quarterback position, to kind of go back to that, if Sam does flip or doesn't work out, what other options are out there for Florida State? And I guess a JUCO or a grad transfer might be an option there. And then can you give us the latest on Kayvon Thibodeau out of California, that dynamic defensive end?
Yeah, I think Gene's kind of touched on the grad transfer. I continue to hear it's likely or possible. There's a good chance to get that. So if you do get a grad transfer, then you basically need one high school guy. I think Lance LeGedry is one guy that you look for. He's the guy they've been active with. I've heard they're actually active with 4 or 5 guys. I don't know those names. I wish I could tell you names that share, but I don't know names. But I know they've been planning just in case something didn't go right with the Howell situation. So I think they're planning ahead of this. I just don't have names on that stuff. And then with Thibodeau, I think that I just have a feeling that comes down to FSU, Alabama. As I mentioned to you many times, like Thibodeau's not like your most kids. He's not, like most 5 stars, just all about elite, playing for an elite program. He's big on the culture and the comfort. He's around the people he's around. And certainly he felt that when he went to the FAMU visit and then he went to FSU. He certainly felt high comfort there. I get the impression Mom prefers FSU. With Thibodeau, I think he's back and forth. I think probably a little bit more towards Alabama. So it's going to be, main thing I was told is it's going to be interesting when he makes that final call on the 19th when he signs. But I don't really have a call either way yet on that one. I don't know which way that's going to go. But I guess if it was just Thibodeau making the decision, I would probably lean a little bit more towards Alabama. But if his mom's having a big part in it, it could be, Seminoles could pull that off.
Look at that. We touched on so much, but there is so much that we didn't get to. And for all that, head over to warchant.com. Check out all of Michael's great recruiting over on the Premium Recruiting Board. You can follow Michael on Twitter. It's all one word, Michael Warchant. Makes it easy for you to remember. Michael, I would say enjoy your weekend. Take it easy, but I know you're going to be grinding your rear end off. Give me a holler if you need some help. I'll be around, man.
Yeah, help me, guys. I'm at 9,500 followers. Get me to 10,000.
Yeah, guys. Man. Push them over, everybody. But, Michael, seriously, give me a holler if you need help over the weekend, man. I'll be around, all right?
Oh, I might be calling. Don't worry.
All right, man. Do that, man. Thanks again. Michael Langston again, everybody, the recruiting analyst for warchant.com and rivals.com. All right, so that's what we know when it comes to recruiting right now, folks. As for an offensive coordinator, again, if you're listening to this right now, as we taped it, Florida State still does not have an offensive coordinator. I'm not saying that again in a judgmental tone, just simply stating the fact of things right now. And for that, we'll reassess our thoughts. We'll revisit it on Monday when we do reconvene. Thanks for listening. Go Noles and all that good stuff. And also be tuned into warchant.com. There's going to be so many recruiting updates coming down from Michael. You don't want to miss out on it. Have a great one, everybody.